is an informational reference for providers furnishing services in national government services contract jurisdiction. Although every reasonable effort has been made to assure the accuracy of the information within the presentation at the time of publication, the Medicare program is constantly changing, and it's the responsibility of each provider to remain abreast of the Medicare program requirements. Any regulations, policies, and/or guidelines that are cited in this publication are subject to change without notice. The CMS website is where you will find all current Medicare regulations. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. This is part 3 of the 7-part series on Medicare Part B drugs and biologicals. The focus for this part 3 is vaccinations, and we are going to specifically go over the vaccinations that are covered by Medicare Part B. When you finish the video, please check out the summary section. We have some related resource links in there for you. Beneficiaries with Medicare Part B are eligible for their annual flu shot, the COVID-19 vaccination, and the pneumonia vaccination series when administered as preventive care. And in the case of the hepatitis B vaccine, the beneficiary must be at an intermediate or high risk for contracting Hep B for it to be covered by Medicare Part B. The flu is covered one time per season, and the flu season begins on August 1st and runs through July 31st of each year. Flu vaccine codes also change on an annual basis. This is due to the evolution of strains, and then that is going to require new vaccine formulations. CMS will post all the annual coding changes to their website, cms.gov, prior to the start of a new flu season. For COVID-19, CMS covers the 2024-2025 formulas for Moderna, Pfizer-BioNTech, and Novavax. COVID-19 frequency of the vaccination schedule is dependent on the actual vaccine drug being administered to the patient. CMS posts all their vaccine updates for COVID to their website when new information has been received. Now, hepatitis B and pneumonia vaccination frequency, those are dependent on specific criteria. So later in this presentation, right at the end, I'm going to show you where you can find the complete information and the scheduling information for all 4 of these vaccinations. I do want to touch on non-covered vaccinations. Rabies and tetanus are not covered by Medicare Part B when they are administered for preventive purposes. The rabies vaccine is a covered benefit if it's administered after a potential exposure to the virus. So a common example would be an animal bite or animal scratch. And then the same is true for tetanus, where we use the very common and old example of someone stepping on a rusty nail. In these instances where the vaccination is deemed a medically necessary treatment by the healthcare provider, a specific injury-related diagnosis code is required on the claim. So if we receive a claim with just a preventive ICD-10 code, that is going to deny as a non-covered services. The shingles vaccine is never covered by Medicare Part B. For all 3 of these vaccines, you might want to ask your patient if they have a Part D prescription drug plan or a Medicare Advantage plan, which is Part C, that also has a drug plan included. If they don't have either of these, you want to determine if they have another payer besides Medicare. Now, roster billing is the quick and simple way to submit multiple claims for vaccinations that are administered to several Medicare beneficiaries on the same service date. The minimum number of beneficiaries permitted on a roster is 5. So if you have treated 4 or less on the same day, then you cannot submit a roster bill. 5 or more, you can submit that roster bill to us. Rosters are allowed for each of the 4 covered preventive vaccinations, with hepatitis B just being added at the beginning of 2025. So for dates of service on and after January 1, 2025, hepatitis B vaccinations can be billed on rosters. You're never going to mix vaccine codes on a single roster bill. Each one is required on its own bill, and that's even if they were performed on the same service dates and the same patients received the same 2 vaccines. Providers that are enrolled in Medicare Part B as mass immunizers, that means they are enrolled under specialty number 73, they are required to submit roster bills to us for these vaccinations. Beneficiaries with Medicare, that is their secondary payer, so MSP, they cannot be included on roster bills. And that's because their primary insurer's payment information has to come to us first before we can consider the claim. Providers are permitted to submit their roster bills on paper 1,500 claim forms. However, it's a lot easier and NGS preferred to submit these electronically. It's more cost effective. It's more efficient for providers who regularly vaccinate their patients. Okay, so we're actually coming to the end of this presentation. And what I wanted to show you now is the CMS Preventive Services Interactive Tool. This is updated and maintained by CMS. This screenshot shows you 4 red stars highlighting the flu, COVID, Hep B, and pneumonia vaccinations. And what I want to do now is step out to the CMS homepage so I can show you how to get there. So on your screen, you should be seeing my cursor and the cms.gov home screen. I'm going to show you the long way, but I'm going to show you the easiest way to get this information. So you're going to click on this Medicare right here. You're going to go to coverage, click on that. And if you go to the most right-hand column, you're going to see preventive services. You're going to go ahead and click on that, and it's going to open the page that shows you all information, links to get to different preventive care. Go to this resources section, so you have to scroll down a touch. Click on that, and then you'll see I've already highlighted here, the Medicare Preventive Services Education Tool. You can click on that, and you'll be right there. Now I'm going to go back to the home page because I'm going to show you the way that I have done it, and now I just have it saved to my favorites. You're just going to write the word preventive, or you can write preventive services. You can even write the word preventative on here, and it will accept. I'm going to go ahead and hit search, and it is always the very first link that turns up. So it is MLN 006559. I'm going to go ahead and click right on that. And I've already saved this to my favorites. So I access this from my favorites list every time. I highlighted that it has the 4 vaccine administrations. However, it also includes every single preventive service that Medicare Part B covers. What it does is, as you scroll over, you'll see how I'm highlighting each one. And if we want to go into one, let's use the flu shot for the example. You're going to just click right on there, and then you get all of the same information in each section. So let's just specifically talk about flu. You're going to see HCPCS codes, the CPT codes. You're going to see if anything has changed in the most recent quarter over here. And as you scroll down the page, you're going to see the ICD-10s that are applicable for preventive care, who is covered under Medicare, the frequency at which they are covered, what the patient's financial responsibility is, and then any other information, including some FAQs. Then you can scroll back up to the top, and if you're looking for something else, for example, the Hep B, you're going to click right into that, and again, you have the same information. So these are the HCPCS and CPTs and ICD-10 that is specific to billing a hepatitis B preventive vaccination. Again, the change information, and pardon my scroll, but you have the same information as well. Just going to go back to my slide. What I want to make sure I tell you, though, is make sure you save that information to your favorites. So that is actually the end of my presentation. I really want to thank everybody for joining me for this quick intro into preventive vaccinations under Medicare Part B. I hope you find this information helpful. We do have other videos if you have not checked them out already. We have these other 6 topics that you can scroll through once you go back to the NGS Medicare homepage for YouTube. Have a great day.